Although somewhat of a divisive game for fans of the series, love it or hate it, you can't deny that Saints Row the Third is an iconic video game. I would go so far as to call it quintessential, from its player customization to cool vehicles, lovable characters, and upgradable weapons and power-ups. It is that last point that I want to focus on. By the end of the game, your character is a god among mortals, nigh unkillable, impervious to almost all forms of damage, with bottomless magazines that mow down even the toughest of enemies in mere seconds. I've never done a challenge run in any game before, really, and I haven't looked up any Saints Row challenge videos before making this, because I don't want to be influenced by any external sources. So I sit here to make this video because I'm genuinely curious for myself. Can I beat Saints Row the Third without purchasing a single upgrade? The short answer is, I think so. The long answer is... So, the ground rules. I will be using the PC version of the game, which released on Steam on the 17th of November 2011. I'll be playing on the latest patch, which I hear makes a difference in some games, but frankly I have no idea what changes it might mean for Saints Row the Third. I'm playing in hardcore mode. I believe this is actually my first time doing so, as usually I just leave it at the default normal. And of course, I'm not allowed to buy any upgrades for myself, my weapons, or my vehicles. First up is when good heists go bad, and I don't expect to see much difference in the early game, as I wouldn't have the upgrades anyway, so the only real challenge is going to come from the higher difficulty level. But I'm not almost 16 like I was the first time I played this. I've got 9.5 more years of gaming experience. I expect this will be a cinch. I actually know what squibs are now, for one.
Hey, do these look like squibs to you?
During the initial SWAT the fence wave, I temporarily swapped the pistol and immediately regretted it. Very much so missing my old dual-wield explosive ammo version. And then I realised, this is what I'll be stuck with for the rest of the game. The rest of the mission passed pretty easily though, apart from a couple of low health warnings that had me worried. But with that all done and out of the way, it's on to character creation. The template that you select only affects your starting clothes, which I don't consider upgrades. So while we'll have to visit a store later as part of the tutorial, what we're doing here is mostly focusing on the body and face. Now, I'm not allowed any upgrades, so of course I allocate all my points to 0 to create Jeremy, the boss that I'll be using for this challenge run. Now that looks like a man with something to prove. Apart from a couple of hairy moments arising from the fact that I'm very much still adjusting to the elevated difficulty level, I'm free falling is pretty much a breeze to just blow through, since we're still very much in the early game. Likewise, Jeremy himself will feel the breeze through his hair as he skydives out the back of this plane, not once, but twice. Having rejected Loren's offer to be taken over by the Syndicate, and making landing in Steelport, the Saints are now going to need the firepower to begin their fight back. And so we arrive at we're going to need guns, which wants me to purchase a weapon upgrade, so to avoid upgrading the Shepherd like I'm supposed to, I buy a grenade. In the armory attack, I get shot through a wall a few times, and for close range combat I swap to the Tech Z10, and oh no. It seems as if for the foreseeable future I'll be using the Shepherd as my main weapon, so long as I can line up those headshots before I get dropped myself. I did try out the Cobra while there, which offers a faster rate of fire for less overall damage, but decided to stick with the Shepherd for the sake of ammo conservation for now. After the first of many shoot out the side of this on-rails helicopter segments, it's now time to... well, here we go. Yes, I have all of the DLC for this game, with the exception of the Unlockables pack, which I consider unnecessary. Although I didn't lay it out as a rule at the start, for an additional challenge, I'm not allowed to use the Bloodsucker Execution, which is a vampire bite that restores my health to full. Now we move on to Steelport Here I Am, where I make sure that people know I'm coming, and I also get mildly annoyed that the models don't reflect the Pearson boss sing-along and banter. I'm in no hurry to get to Planet Saints, so I sit here for a little bit and let it all play out, since I know what's coming. After we deck out Jeremy in his sick new duds, bracing myself, I hit accept.
Time to go. What the fuck is that thing?
Thanks to Pierce, I need to leave the safety of the store where I was desperately attempting to call in a missile, where I find myself reintroduced to gravity. Well, I never specified this as a no-deaths run, but if you want to consider this a failure, feel free. I'm gonna keep going. The second attempt succeeds thanks to kiting the brute around the store, and then my getaway car blows up. Luckily there was a checkpoint, that means I can finish up with little incident. I didn't really pay much heed to it at the time, but looking back and reflecting, I can understand that some people might consider using DLC weapons a form of purchased upgrade. Regardless of that fact, I grabbed the Shark-O-Matic and Mollusk Launcher from my weapon cache in the hopes that they'll help with the larger firefights. And then I restock my ammo before moving on to party time. I throw the lieutenant off the roof so that I don't bite him. I clear out the house. I chase the second lieutenant, fall off the roof and die. After chasing him again, my next attempt fares way better as I feed him to my shark. Up next is Guardian Angel, the mission that introduces us to the side activity that consists of being helicoptered around and protecting a yelling NPC who doesn't care how good at your job you are, they are always frantic.
A little help from up there might be nice.
Side note, the sniper used here is called the McManus, which I choose to believe is a reference to the main character of Lost webcomic Control-Alt-Delete, Ethan McManus. I will remain willfully ignorant if this is not the case. After Guardian Angel, I made a terrible discovery. Vehicle delivery is an upgrade. Looks like I'm gonna need to start getting around the old-fashioned way, with liberal use of friendly bystanders offering me a lift. I see you, Tooltip, and no, I will not. Trafficking immediately kills me for some reason. I assume the mission car spawned inside the car I was generously lent as transport. I am also given a new set of weapons that I don't want, and I'm killed by the helicopter sniper, which forces me to start the mission over. This time around, no helicopter spawns, but I do have to kill the buyer for not paying. Luckily, when the mission ends, my loadout is restored. After some initial difficulties catching a bus, I generously volunteer to run a bus route, which turns out to be slightly less dangerous in my hands than a regular first bus. In Take Over the City, I am forced to buy some buildings, which increases the amount of money I make, but what am I going to spend the money on? It also gives a discount to purchases made at owned stores, but I'll simply not be allowed to top up my ammo at this particular friendly fire anymore. Up next is the introduction to another side activity, Tank Mayhem, although it is unclear where we get a tank from. The chain link fences help my modifier grow, and it's another mission down easy. The side activity Samba continues with the way more combat-oriented Professor Genki's super ethical reality climax, which removes the regenerative health as well as all my weapons. Luckily, this has minimal trouble. Jeremy makes a poor call in a mission that's entirely a cutscene.
Loren's a tactician. He's not gonna hole up in a building that screams, "I'm a criminal mastermind."
And I hit the powder room, remembering the minigun brutes exists about a second before I actually encounter it.
Oh no, the minigun.
Oh, this can't be good.
Minigun!
I consider myself initially lucky, as he focuses on the homies first, and then his focus shifts to me. and I have weird Rogue Company flashbacks. However, thanks to a sacrificial Pierce, he manages to go down. Claiming his minigun for myself provides a much welcome boost to my firepower to close the mission out on, but I'm not looking forward to the future encounters with this particular enemy type, nor his flamethrower or grenade launcher flavoured cousins. Now that we'd confirmed that Philippe was holed up exactly where Pierce said he was, it was time to take him out with the Belgian problem. Starting the mission too early means I can't take my car, so I call an Uber. Kiting the brute in the loading bay section around like a Dark Souls boss wasn't something I expected to be doing, but that was mostly because I'd completely forgotten that there was a brute in the loading bay section. After making sure that our plan still has a chance of succeeding even if we die, we head up and meet the first flamethrower brute. I managed to persuade some Morningstar goons to assist me in fighting him, and they gloriously give their lives to protect Jeremy and the Saints. After picking up the incinerator, I never get a chance to use it before heading towards the part that I was scared of, due to memories of an old bug I had on my laptop where I wouldn't be able to start shooting the brute until it was too late and he would just one-shot me off the ball. Luckily, I can in fact do enough damage to trigger his fall and flatten Philippe. The Lucadors crash Gat's funeral the same way that the Ronin crashed Aisha's back in Saints Row 2, so it's time to recruit some new help, including my personal best girl. Don't at me if that's controversial. Return to Steelport was pretty average for the most part, although the fact that I was forced to use the unupgraded Krukov with a really long reload, combined with this lamppost that conveniently covered up one of the enemies as a portable shield, meant that I nearly failed the pony cart chase. You know, considering the other vehicles in this game, I'm surprised that this wasn't an unlockable. Hulk Hogan's up next, and this was the toughest part of the game so far for me. If I wasn't proving unlucky with the slot machines, needing to revive a homie would force me out into the open where I could get casually mowed down. After several goes, however, the enemies were taken care of, and everyone was safe. Similarly to how Pierce introduced us to several side activities near the start of the game, everyone else wanted to say hi with some blue missions of their own, while Shaundy continues the storyline. I don't mind taking a slight diversion to get to know our new friends a little better, and once that's done, it's time for another penthouse shootout against the Trojan Horse. I swapped the Krukov for an AR-55 during the activities, and I'm very glad I did. This might become my new main weapon. The snipers proved to be an unexpected speed bump, and then Killbane puts the nail in his coffin.
And that's about it for now. The end video turned out to be too long for what I wanted, so I decided to split it into a mini-series. So I hope to see you next week as we continue to dismantle the Syndicate and a new contender enters the ring. This has been the biggest project I've ever worked on for this channel, so a like or subscribe would be greatly appreciated to let me know if you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and catch you in the next video. Bye for now.